The 2002 season was all about one man, and certainly all about one team. Ferrari thrashed everyone else in the constructors' standings, and considering Michael Schumacher won the Drivers' Championship with several races to go, it's fair to say his season went pretty well as well. Ferrari's near-perfect F2002 trounced every other car in terms of raw speed and reliability. Michael Schumacher went through the entire 17-race season without retiring once. Rubens Barrichello wasn't so lucky, and I can't even tell if I'm talking about the real-life season or the reverse grid one at this point. Yes, everything I've said conforms to both championships. Even with the reversed grids, Michael Schumacher was still the class of the field, and he still won the Drivers' Championship with 2 races to spare. The 2002 season is one which, unless you're a Schumacher fan, you wouldn't want repeated in a hurry. So for the 2003 season, some changes were made. Firstly, the top 8 finishers in a race now score points, not just the top 6. So with more points being dished out for those in second and below, and with more drivers than ever being able to score points, this season is more about consistency than it ever has been. The second major change is to the qualifying format. Gone is the 1 hour 12 lap system, and in is the 1 lap shootout. Love it or hate it, and let's be honest, most hated it, it does allow for some more varied and unpredictable qualifying results. That's because one slip up, one mistake, one error of judgment, and you'll tumble down the order. As a case in point, look who's starting this Grand Prix in 6th. There's been very few changes to the regulations of the cars between 2002 and 2003. So as this season is all about consistency, surely Ferrari can build upon their uber quick and reliable F2002 and have this season in the bag. Well, I wouldn't be so sure. Yes, of course they're the favourites, and rightly so, but Williams and certainly McLaren appear to have closed the gap. The gulf in performance Ferrari once had has dried up. And let's not forget, when you reverse the starting grids, anyone could end the race at the front. Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the first episode in my reverse grid race series on Formula 1 2003. Well, there's so many things I want to talk through, and there's so many things I want to explain, and I'm sure I'll get through most of those over the course of the next few episodes. One thing I do want to talk through right off the bat is that this game will be very familiar and instantly recognisable to anyone who watched my 2002 reverse grid race series. That's because the 2002 and 2003 games are very similar, in much the same way that the 2002 and 2003 Formula 1 seasons were very similar. There were format changes, yes, but the cars, the technical regulations, were similar between 2002 and 2003, so in the intro I kind of really geared this season up as 2002 Mark II, and no matter whether you're talking about the context of the real life season or the context of the reverse grid season, it works because 2003 really is just a follow-up to 2002 with just some format changes. Now, in my 2002 reverse grid race series, Ferrari dominated, there's no getting away from it. It was ridiculous. There were occasions where the Ferrari drivers, they overtook about 7 drivers on the run down towards the first corner. It was absurd. And there were loads of people who commented in that series saying, do longer races, do longer races, do longer races. And I always replied saying, well, look, Ferrari are dominating as it is, and I always try and set the race distances so it's equal, so it gives everyone an equal chance of winning races. And at 10% race distances, which is what it was in the 2002 reverse grid series, at 10% distance, Ferrari was still dominating despite starting from the back. If I upped it to the next race distance, which I think was 25%, that would give the Ferrari drivers 2.5 times the amount of laps to move up towards the front. If you gave them that much opportunity, it would have been a Ferrari 1-2 at every single race. In fact, it probably would have been a Williams 3-4 at every single race as well. It would have just the whole concept of the series would have fallen flat because there would have been no point reversing the grids. That's how mad the AI was, and that's how much could change in the 25% distance race on that game. Well, this game, for all those people who wanted longer races, that's what you're getting on this game, because the only race distances you can select in this game are 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 or full race distances. That's it. So it's going to be 1/3 race distances, which means that this reverse grid race series, the fourth proper one in a way, has got the longest races in a reverse grid race series to date. The longest races yet, and you'd think Ferrari, given that they're going to win. Not necessarily. Yes, this game is very similar to 2002. The AI, they don't quite function in the same way, they really don't, and I'm sure we'll see that as we go through this series. And even if you think Michael Schumacher is the plain favourite to win the championship, and that is by no means guaranteed, even if you think that, it's unlikely he's going to win this Grand Prix, because if you go down to 6th place, Kimi Raikkonen in 6th. So he qualified in 15th for the real life Grand Prix. If you don't know this reverse grid race series, if you've never seen it before, the starting grids are a reverse of the real life qualifying results. And in the real life one-shot qualifying session, Kimi Raikkonen, in the Saturday qualifying session, made a mistake, minor mistake, but it was significant enough to cost him time and dropped him down the order. And this was back in the leather jacket days of McLaren, as the season review DVD reminded me. But yes, that minor mistake meant that the leather jacketed McLaren team didn't actually have all that great of a qualifying session, but in the reverse grid race series, it's worked out wonderfully because Kimi Raikkonen is starting in 6th. Coulthard didn't even have a major mistake, he was just not all that quick in qualifying, but of course different fuel loads and parc ferme conditions, and I didn't even realise that actually 2003 was the first season in which there were parc ferme rules. I thought the parc ferme rules were way before 2003, but there you go. I mean, Coulthard, whether it was strategy, whether it was poor qualifying, who knows. He's starting in 10th now, so that's going to help him out in this reverse grid race series. You've got Ralf Schumacher in 12th, and just going down through the order, and there you go, you got both Ferraris at the back. I mean, I could speculate and talk about who's going to do well this series, but really, I have no idea. This is 2002 Mark II, but with some very key differences. So, literally, it is anybody's guess, for the time being at least. But let's stop the talking and start the racing. So, the first round of the season, the Australian Grand Prix around Albert Park, will start any moment now.
And the rain is really pouring down here at Albert Park in Melbourne for the start of the new Grand Prix season. Very tricky conditions. And it's go, everyone's slipping and sliding as they look for grip on this long straight down to turn 1. Is everyone through safely? Really, really treacherous conditions for the drivers here.
Thank you, James Allen, and yes, everyone is just about through safely, but there was nearly contact between the two Minardi drivers, but I think Jos Verstappen is going to pass Justin Wilson. So Verstappen, not the leading Minardi driver at the start, but he is now. Ralf Furman has passed. I believe he's passed Justin Wilson anyway, so we got Ralf Furman in 2nd place. Justin Wilson already down to 4th because Kimi Raikkonen is up into 3rd. So we got 3 different teams as contact between Raikkonen and Furman. But I think Kimi Raikkonen, with the Mercedes power, is going to breeze past the Jordan team. And of course 2003, really the start of the Jordan downfall. But we still got Furman in 3rd. We've got Ralf Schumacher, who's passed David Coulthard. So Coulthard's, well, I mean, Coulthard's not too far behind. I can see him there. He's behind Mark Webber. Sony has had not that great of a start as well, actually. But we got a running order. So we got Jos Verstappen in 1st, Kimi Raikkonen in 2nd, and already bearing down on Verstappen. Furman in 3rd, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Mark Webber in 5th, Coulthard 6th, Justin Wilson in the other Minardi in 7th, and Giancarlo Fisichella in 8th, with D'Amata and Heidfeld rounding out the top 10. So that is pretty much one lap down and already a lot of position changes. This is very reminiscent of 2002. What isn't reminiscent of 2002 is the fact we've done an entire lap and we've still got a Minardi in first place. You would not have seen that in Formula 1 2002. I mean, I'm not saying the Minardis have pace, but what I'm saying is they can actually hold a position. They can hold their own. I mean, they are definitely the slowest, but they can defend a little bit better. And of course, trying to watch the race through the mist is just ridiculous. And through the spray being kicked up by all the cars. I think the top 8 are still in the same positions. We've still got Schumacher behind Furman. We've still got Raikkonen behind Verstappen. Have we got all 20 runners still? Yes, we have. We got Frentzen in last, though, which is not that much of a surprise considering he, I believe, qualified in 4th in the real-life qualifying session, just ahead of both Ferraris and, I don't know, some other quick driver. So, yeah, Frentzen, he was not in a good starting place in that Sauber. Verstappen, Raikkonen, Furman, Schumacher. I'm just waiting for a move to be made because it is inevitable. I mean, we've got 3 top team drivers and 3 bottom team drivers in the top 6. So this really is back markers versus front runners. And we've got 2 laps pretty much completed. And still, Jos Verstappen is holding his own against Raikkonen. Still, Ralf Furman is holding his own against Ralf Schumacher. And still, Mark Webber is holding his own against David Coulthard. And Webber, of course, in the 2002 season, he was driving a Minardi, and that was just, I mean, it was pointless him turning up. That Minardi was that slow. I bet he wishes he was in the Minardi now, because with his skill, I mean, he effectively was in Jos Verstappen's seat. You know, Mark Webber could well be leading the Grand Prix, but that's just the nature of the game, the nature of the seasons. But with 2 laps down, I think the action has died down. So let me just go through the running order one last time. Verstappen, Raikkonen, Furman, Schumacher, Webber, Coulthard, Wilson still in 7th, Giancarlo Fisichella still in 8th, and we've still got De Matter and Heifeld rounding out the top 10. Well, that's a misleading graphic. Jos Verstappen best lap, that's not true. I mean, that's actually such a bad graphic because firstly, he's not in 6th, that was on lap 6, and secondly, that's his personal best lap, not the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. If you actually look at the train, Jos Verstappen is holding up. We've got a retirement for Ralf Furman. He was doing so well in 3rd place, and that's it. His Ford engine has gone. So that means Verstappen is still leading, of course, Raikkonen in 2nd, but Ralf Schumacher is up into 3rd. Mark Webber 4th, Coulthard in 5th. It's amazing how few positional changes there have been. In fact, actually, yeah, I mean, with the exception of Furman's retirement, there have been no changes at the front. I mean, I think Michael Schumacher is about to break into the top 10. That's still not a points position. But I have never seen someone so obediently sit on the back of another driver. It's ridiculous. There's been a constant, and I'm not just plucking this figure out of nowhere. It's been a constant. Look at that! Verstappen and Raikkonen have set the exact same best lap times because Raikkonen is literally sticking to the back of Verstappen. This is extraordinary. I didn't actually expect this, but I think a move's going to happen. Kimi Raikkonen on Jos Verstappen. This looks like it's going to be a move later on the brakes. And there you go. Kimi Raikkonen, eventually, he took his sweet time, but he didn't exactly need to rush it. And there you go. Kimi Raikkonen is now leading the Grand Prix. So it's only a matter of time, I'm sure, before... In fact, Ralf Schumacher's already done it. When did that happen? The good thing about this game, of course, unlike the last Reverse Grid Race series, is that we get replays, so we have actually got a replay function. Let's have a look at this. So, Jos Verstappen. I mean, it was actually the first time where Kimi Raikkonen moved to the right-hand side and Verstappen moved to the left. It's actually the first time that Verstappen gave room to Raikkonen. Raikkonen took the inside line round the corner, and yeah, that just put Verstappen out on the wetter line, and Ralf Schumacher took 2nd. So there you go. So actually, this is more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because I thought this was just going to be... In fact, I think we're going to see Coulthard pass Mark Webber soon, surely. And it's really a matter of time. It's not a case of if Coulthard's going to pass. It's a case of when is he going to pass, and is that going to be within the next 13 laps, because it has to be.
Overtake.
McLaren's Kimi Raikkonen sets a new fastest lap of the race.
Well, thank you, Martin, but look at that, Alonso is another retiree from the Grand Prix. Now, last time I looked, actually, Fernando Alonso was in second to last place, only ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but Fernando Alonso has retired from the Grand Prix, and it's been mentioned now, twice, that Kimi Raikkonen is setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So, there's no doubt he's quicker than Ralf Schumacher. Yeah, the gap has, no question, extended between Ralf Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. So, barring any reliability issues, Raikkonen's won the Grand Prix. Ralf Schumacher's got second, wrapped up. Coulthard still cannot get past Webber, and Webber can't even get past Verstappen. So, I mean, this is remarkable. Let me just look further on down the field, and Michael Schumacher still hasn't got past Cristiano de Mata. So Michael Schumacher, I mean, the fact he's made up this many positions this quickly is extraordinary. We're talking about a position a lap on average Schumacher has made up, but he's still not in a points position. Even if he passes de Mata, that's only 1 point. I mean, would it be much easier to pass Fisichella? I'm not sure. Honestly, I think even the great Michael Schumacher is going to struggle to overtake.
Wilson has just improved on his previous best in Sector 1.
Schumacher looks like he's getting ready to...
Hang on! What on earth is that? That's a retirement for Jos Verstappen. I was confused because it just said Michael Schumacher was in 8th even though he hadn't passed de Mata. But then there's a Minardi blown up on the side of the track. And that must be Verstappen. Unless it's Justin Wilson, either way that is a massive disappointment for Minardi. No, it's Jos Verstappen. From 3rd place. And he's lost it. Wow, I've never been more heartbroken. Maybe it's because I do hold a soft spot for Minardi, but I think everyone can sympathise with the fact that this is Minardi, a really low budget team, and they were in 3rd place. They've been holding 3rd place for about 15 laps, well maybe just less than, and Verstappen's done a fantastic job, passed his teammate off the start, but then look, his engine gave way. And that's really, really, really disappointing.
Schumacher is challenging Cristiano de Mata.
And it looks to be an engine failure for the Ferrari.
No! No way, this is... That's unbelievable! Michael Schumacher's got an engine failure! That's cost him a point, but not only that, that's a reliability issue for Michael Schumacher. We didn't see this in the entire 2002 Reverse Grid Race Series, and in the first round of the 2003 series, look, he's out. He's baffled. Of course he is. I think someone else has retired. In fact, someone else has. That is Nick Heidfeld, who inherited the 8th place through Schumacher's retirement. But now he's not even going to claim that, so who is in 8th? I think that's Jenson Button, who is now in 8th. It must be... It's a BAR. It is Jenson Button in 8th. I'll tell you what, this race has really perked up come the end. Yes, David Coulthard still hasn't been able to pass Mark Webber. It's been about, what, 17 laps? He still can't get past. Kimi Raikkonen has just started the final lap of the Grand Prix. And this race... There's not been as much on-track overtakes as I was expecting. I think the weather had more of an effect than I would expect. But trust me, the future races will have more overtakes. Malaysia's going to be a complete overtake fest, I can assure you of that. But the retirements have had a massive impact. Furman, Verstappen, Heidfeld, Michael Schumacher. That's a story in itself, Michael Schumacher retiring. But Kimi Raikkonen on the final lap, I don't think he's going to suffer any reliability issues, and I don't think Ralf Schumacher will either. I mean, this is extraordinary. Ferrari Both in real life and in the reverse grid series, Ferrari had impeccable reliability in the 2002 season. And then here, nothing. Barrichello's got no pace. Schumacher's got no reliability. Williams BMW, they had loads of engine failures. McLaren didn't have the pace. They have got the pace this season. Kimi Raikkonen rounds the final corner to win the Australian Grand Prix in the 2003 Reverse Grid Race Series.
But from him, everything has come together this weekend to give him the perfect result. 10 points for him, 10 points for his team. It doesn't get any better than this for a Formula One driver. Let's go over briefly to the podium celebrations.
Yeah, James Allen, shut up. Ralf Schumacher is in second place. Mark Webber, I think he's going to hold off David Coulthard. Please don't tell me that Mark Webber... David Coulthard has had 18 laps worth of attempts to get past Webber, and I don't think he ever took it. And Coulthard's dropping back now as well. But Mark Webber, at his home Grand Prix, is going to finish in third. Jaguar on the podium for the second reverse grid Australian Grand Prix in a row. Coulthard fourth. Justin Wilson for Minardi. It's a good day for Minardi in terms of Wilson's side of the garage, but unlucky for Verstappen to lose third place. But still, Wilson taking fifth. That is quite some result. Fisichella sixth, D'Amata seventh, and there you go. Jenson Button in eighth, but 1 minute and 9 seconds behind Raikkonen. That's how dominant he was. Wow, what a Grand Prix that was. Honestly, an extraordinary Grand Prix. Yes, there weren't that many on-track overtakes, but that's one of the surprising things about it. It's amazing that we just had a Grand Prix where there were so few on-track overtakes, yet, for me at least, I thought that was a pretty interesting Grand Prix. Yeah, not a classic, unlike the real-life 2003 Australian Grand Prix. That's why it was light rain conditions, because, well, we're not going to have that many wet weather Grand Prix over the course of this reverse grid race series, and the real-life Australian Grand Prix, they started off in intermediate tyres, well, most of them did. If you've got a subscription to the newly released F1 TV, then the 2003 Australian Grand Prix, I believe, is on there. Go and watch it because, well, I've watched the highlights and I've read race reports about it. It's actually quite a classic Grand Prix. I don't think this one matched it, but my word, was it full of drama, mainly to do with reliability issues, but that's a part of Formula One. So then, here are the Constructors' Championship standings. Of course, the Drivers' Championship is just a reflection of the race results. The Constructors' Championship, McLaren, they've got off to a fantastic start. 15 points, almost double the amount of points that Williams have. I said in the intro that McLaren and Williams, they're closer to Ferrari. They were closer to Ferrari in the real-life 2003 season. And, well, they're infinitely ahead of Ferrari. Ferrari, one of 3 teams not to score points. Ferrari, Renault, and Sauber. And Sauber in real life were effectively using an old F2002. So, Ferrari got doubly unlucky and did doubly bad. And then Renault just weren't on the mark. But there's a lot more races left to go. I'm sure Renault will score points. Jaguar. Brilliant start for them to have 6 points. Minardi are in the running and they're actually in a decent position for the time being, at least 4 points. Could have been so much more. Minardi could have been second in the constructor standings. It could have been so close to first. And that ends the first round of the Formula 1 2003 Reverse Grid Race Series, and what a race it was. I've already said my thoughts on the race. Not amazing, but it was actually, there was a real story to this race, and Kimi Raikkonen, the man on top, McLaren, the team on top. But will it stay like that for the next 15 rounds of the season? Well, you'll have to watch the remaining episodes to find out, and as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys for the second round of the season, which will be the Malaysian Grand Prix. So, I'll see you guys then.